Hi, on my trip from Germany to the coast of Spain, I'll be following mostly what we call the St. James Way. And you see on my hat and on my backpack the official sign of the St. James Way. And wherever you go on this path, when you see this, you know, oh, I'm still on the right path to Santiago de Compostela. Then that is the place where supposedly the grave of the Apostle James is to be found. And for hundreds of years, people have made this pilgrim trip from all areas of Europe to Santiago de Compostela. And then they would continue on to what is called Cap Finisterre. That is a little cape off the coast of Spain, and it's called the end of the world. It is thought that the Apostle James traveled all the way to the known end of the world to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with people who would listen. And so when the pilgrims would go to Santiago de Compostela, many of them would continue on to the coast, to Cap Finisterre. They would go to the beach and look for a shell, bring it back as a sign and proof that they had actually traveled this long way. And so that's where the St. James shell comes from. Now, when we look into the book of Acts, we see the Apostle James didn't live very long. King Herod executed him pretty quick. So we don't know for sure if he actually had time to make the long trip to Spain and back. But there is a Jacob, or we would say James, but in the Old Testament his name was Jacob. There is a Jacob who did make a long foot trip from what was then Israel all the way to Iraq. And that was the son of Isaac and Rebekah. I don't want to take the time to tell the whole story, but he was in a personal crisis. He didn't know what his future would be like, and he was on a journey for a new beginning. And that night, the first night, he had a dream. And in the dream, the heavens opened up, and there was a ladder going from earth to heaven. And there, Jacob had a vision of the glory of God. And God spoke to him and said and promised to Jacob that he would be with him on his journey and bring him back safely. The next morning, Jacob, when he woke up, he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't know it." How often do we go through life's crisis and God is there with us, but we just don't really know it? But he is. He's there with us. And Jacob, he called this place Bethel, meaning the house of God, saying that the dwelling of God is here on this place. It's not so much in a church building that we find God's presence as it is in the creation about us. This is what so many people experience on the St. James Way. It's not the cathedrals and the churches along the ways, but it's that experience as you walk, traveling with God, that God can speak to you. Did you know that about a day's hike away from Bethel is a place called Bethlehem? Bethlehem means house of God, bread. Bread in the house of God. And this is a city, of course, the town actually, where Jesus Christ was born. God's bread from heaven to us. And Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And I think it is just so great to see this God, our God of the Bible, who will build a bridge, who will build a highway to us through the life of Jesus, through the cross and resurrection, that we can come to him. This is our God. And I want to encourage you to seek him and to travel this way, not the St. James way, but the way with Jesus. He will lead you to your destiny.